Hey there YouTube, AJ here, and I know I said I was going to wait, but I decided to go ahead and get started and make my mounts for my Dietz headlights that are going to be coming off of my shock mounts using this Model A headlight spreader bar. Let's get started. Okay, so obviously we're not going to use this whole thing. We're going to use not even this whole part. We're going to use this cup and part of this arm here. I'm not sure how much I'm going to need yet. So just to make everything easier to handle, first thing we're going to do is just take and cut away the cups from the center bar, and then they'll give me the smaller piece to work with and figure out what I want to do. Alright, so now our spreader bar is in 3 pieces. We'll save this center section for future use maybe, I don't know, we'll see. And for now we'll focus on these 2 pieces here, trying to determine how much of this we're going to need. I did just rough cut these. I will eventually grind this down and smooth that out and make this cup more uniform all the way around. But for now, let's take them over to the car and see which one we want to use where. Okay, depending on which side I use, you can see the curve in them is swept the opposite direction from side to side. So depending on which one I use, I could either use it and use that curve to sweep it back so this light sits further back towards the body of the car, or I could use the other side and use that curve to kind of sweep it forward a little bit. It's not much, but it is there a little bit, just it is noticeable. And honestly, the amount that I'm going to be using, it may not matter at all because it's going to be really short, I think. Where's my light? So if I put this in there, oh, I almost broke that glass. Let me get some tape and tape this in. I don't have my retaining ring on there. Okay, now that I've taped that in, not that I really care about this bulb, it's burnt out anyway. I just don't want to break it and have to clean it up. So let's take a look. Oh. Damn it. Come up that high. Is that too high? I think I want it a little further away from the grill. That line in the tape's not being horizontal is throwing me off. Okay, I know it needs to come forward, but I'm looking at distance. Let's see. I want that to be like that. I think that looks pretty good right there. It'll be coming forward about 3/4 of an inch from there. I like kind of like the distance and the height. Alright. Okay, I think I know where I'm going to cut it. Going to cut it right there above this part number. Save this stem for something else. Well, while I was lining those up to cut them equally, I noticed that the bottom of the cups aren't the same from side to side. This one's got like a D shape to it, and this one's got a round shape to it. So yeah, when I go to reshape these, file this part up here down, I will have to shape this one into a round to match this one over here as well. But anyway, they're pretty close to the same length now, so now we just got to figure out exactly how much more we need to trim and match to get the light where we want it to be. I do think I'm going to orient them to where the sweep forward comes off and comes a little forward. It's not much, it's just a little bit. So obviously where I welded on up and down on the shock mount, that'll control the height of where I want the light. I can also angle this forward or back to position the light further towards the front of the car or further to the back. That will also affect it left to right in between the tire and the grill shell a little bit, but primarily that's the distance off of here that's going to determine that. So let's see if we like where it's at so far. Yeah, I think something like that will do pretty nicely. It's a little close to the shock. I might need to go up a little bit. I do want to try to keep the front of my lights behind the front edge of my grill shell. I don't want them to be sticking out further than my grill shell. They need to be at least level or behind. Preferably for me, just a little behind. It's just what I like. Everybody's got their own taste, right? So, I think it's something like that's what I'm gonna want. All right, I think we're off to a good start. I think what I want to do before I go any further, I want to shape a little contour into the end of this to where it'll fit around the round side of the shock mount. Because right now I just have that little bit of pivot point and I can't really get a good firm feeling. I will also go ahead and bevel the outer edge of this and prepare these for welding. So if I do get it to where I like it, I can just go ahead and tack it into place. Well, before I do that, I also need to address that. So let's take some time, clean these cups up the way I want them to look, bevel these edges down here, and put a concave into the end of this bar here so it fits better around the shock mount. Get these prepared. I think I've got them cut to the right lengths and everything. I'm happy with that. So I think now we just need to get them prepared and cleaned up, and so when we do realize where we want them, we can just go ahead and tack them. So I've cleaned them up a little bit. I need to clean out the pockets yet, obviously, but you know, later days. This one was the D-shaped one. It's a lot closer to looking the same. I also took off where the bar was between the two cups. Yeah, they're not identical, but man, once they're coated in black paint and the lights are on there, you're gonna have to crawl up underneath the lights and look at the bottom of these things to try to prove that they're not identical, and I don't care. And quite honestly, if someone's doing that with my car, I really don't care about their opinion. That's a little extreme. I'm not building a Riddler contender, an Amber contender, etc. When I went to shape these together, I realized that both ends aren't quite the same. This one looks to be a little meatier, this one's a little thinner, but again, you can't really tell that unless you're really looking very, very closely at them. I was originally doing the one on the right first, and I noticed that I cut the one for the left side about 1/8 inch shorter than the one on the right, so I had to modify the one on the right to match the one on the left. And then I chamfered the ends, and then I put a groove in the center of the ends for it to mount up better to the shock mount. So I think the next step is to try to tack these into position. So let's get some lights out and see what it looks like. All right, so I got my mounts mocked up onto the buckets, and what I've done, I don't know if you can tell, the way I've got this set, the bolt that holds the light into the cup, I've got it to where it is just forward of where the groove to mount onto the shock mount is. So that should just give it a little sweep forward from the shock mount. And I will eventually cut this bolt down. It's not going to be this long. Let's see where it sits on here. How's that looking from out there? It's kind of hard to tell, and I don't really have a good way to clamp this. I don't think I have any way to clamp this, to be honest. So if we go there, kind of like that. It gives me clearance, good clearance around the shock. Just a little bit above the tire height, I like that. And I got good spacing left to right from my grill shell and to my tire. Let's check the other side. Oh, it's gonna be harder for me to get out of your way for this one, but it was about right there. Yeah, I think I like that. So that's basically about an inch down from the top of my stud. So I think what I need to do, tack one on, try to make sure it's level front to back and left to right, and then try to match that on the other side. So let's take these off and see if we can do that. But before I can do that, I need to clean up where these are going to be. I've lost my angle finder. Shoot. Oh, there it is. Found my angle finder. Probably should try to use a square. And like everything, it doesn't have to be perfect. That cup will allow me to adjust the light to where the light sits level, but there's no reason not to try to get it as close as you can. Yeah, see, that's got to come back. So I need to adjust this. I need to take a little off of this edge up at the top and the back edge at the bottom. So I'll be right back. Okay, it's close enough now. I think what I need to do is put a tack on it to hold it, and hopefully I can move it with the tack, you know, bend it just a little bit to get it where I want it before I tack it really good. So let's fire up the welder. What I'm doing is positioning my ground clamp to kind of help give me a place to hold this where I want it to be. So if I can get that at the height level at least, that'll give me a little bit of help. All right, let's see what we can do here. See if we can land this first try. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Wait a minute. Feel like my settings got bumped on my welder. I'm not on high. I thought so. I'm not on the highest setting that I need to be for this thick of metal. Shoot. That explains that. Let's try it again. Alright, before we move on, let's see how level we are and see how the light looks in it. Half a degree left to right. This way, and we got a 1 degree slope front to back. That's not too bad. Let's see what our light looks like in there. All right, I don't know about you, but I'm okay with that. I think that looks pretty good. While we're here, let's cycle the steering and make sure we're got clearance. I think we should. Oh. I need a steering wheel and a steering box. Okay, plenty there. Oh yeah, beauty, eh? Alright, I don't know about you, but I like it. I think it looks pretty good. The front edge of my cup is pretty much even with the mounting surface for the shock isolator or bushing. So that's good. That's a happy accident actually, but I like that. So now I just got to duplicate the height. How do we do that? How do we get a setting on height? Come on. Got in. Alright. So let's take our ground clip to the other side. We're going to try to do the same thing over here. Use the ground clip to set our height. Alright, let's see if we can set this height over here. Alright, we're in the ballpark now. Let's see how we do. Shit. It's way too high. Shit. How did I get it that freaking high? Yeah, at least I didn't have it. I only had it lightly tacked, so that's no big deal. What's going on here? And I say, hey, I say, hey, what's going on? Let's try it again. I wish I was one of those guys that could tack with their eyes closed or do the nice little flippy thing with their head and get their welding helmet in position without trying. But alas, I am not that good. Needs to come forward, I can see that. Good. Now let's just hope third time's a charm. Really wish I had a way to clamp this in here better. You can already tell it's too high and it's going to break when I try to put it back into position. Measure for the umpteenth millionth time. And I thought this was all going so smooth. And I know our clamp is way out of position now, so we got to fix that. Camera's way out of position now, we got to fix that. Okay, so the camera overheated and shut down. When I realized that and changed the battery, put the battery back in, it said repairing files, so I don't know what was lost yet, so we'll see what happens there. It's probably a good thing. I may have thrown a little fit. I may have thrown some safety precautions to the wind, and honestly I'm hoping that's not on the film, but I don't know how many tries I took before I lost my cool, but it's close now. It's really close in height. You know, it's pretty much the same in height from side to side. It's pretty much the same front to back, this edge to the flange here, side to side. So that's all good, I think. It's almost dead on in tilt front to back. It's just slightly off. It's like a ½ degree off from one another this way. That's close enough I can live with it. Once I weld it on permanently, maybe I can finesse them a little more, but I'm not going to risk it right now because they're just tacked. I don't want to break tacks again while it's this close. So to finally get this one welded up, I actually clamped my vice grips on here, made a little cradle to sit this in and got it in position. The vice grip isn't clamping on this piece at all, it's just clamped onto here, and I just kept moving it up and down and finessing it until I got this to kind of sit in the right place. It was just barely holding it in place. So then I was able to get a tack on it. So now what we're going to do is hopefully, I think I'm going to take off the shocks and get some better tacks on there. So let's put the grill back in position right now. And sit the lights in and see what it looks like. Alright, let me stand back and see if that looks symmetrical and good. You know what? Those are pretty darn close. Kind of looks like the left one may be a smidge lower, but that might be an optical illusion because of the cloudy glass on the one and the X's are in different orientations. Just inside. So for me, that's close enough. I can make 5/8. I can make an 1/8 inch difference work. Once I get them fully welded on, a little heat, a little bending, a little tweaking, we can probably get those things right pretty much dead on to one another. They're close enough that it'd be hard to tell at this point. So I can live with that. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to take off these shocks, take the headlights back off, And I'm gonna go ahead and throw some better welds all the way around that. It's still gonna be, I don't know if it'll be permanent welds yet or not, but you know, just better welds, so I don't have to worry about it breaking off. Okay, so here we go. We have our shock mount, comes out front to the shock, and this part in my weld, I still need to clean up my weld. I just wire brushed it off. There's still some slag I need to grind off, and I gotta finish welding it, so that's all to come later. But anyway, our shock mount swoops down, comes up, has a shock here, branches off for a headlight mount. That is still hot, but it is plenty sturdy right now. Ow, I can't even touch it. As you can see, it's all welded. Well, it is welded good enough now for, I don't need to worry about, you know, bumping it and breaking it off or anything. It's well more than tack welded. It is not finished. It's not welded through the bottom yet. I will finish weld that all later when I take it apart. But for now, it is good. So same thing over here on the other side. Again, the welds need to be finished and ground and etc, etc. But it'll hold for now. So let's put it back together and see what it looks like. Well, I wasn't planning on pulling it out and taking a look at it, but decided to anyway. I think it looks pretty darn good. I know it's just a little off from one side to the other. I also know I can get that fixed in a little bit better, but I don't think anybody else would ever notice. It would be really hard to see. Right now the driver's side headlight does look higher than the left. Again, I don't know if that's an optical illusion from the tape and the lens, but whatever. Or it could be this frame's just kind of sagging on that side. Who knows? I'm not going to worry about it right now. When we get it finished welded, if we need to heat it up and bend it a little bit, we will. Then we'll worry about it. Right now, it's good. But overall, I think it's starting to come together. I think the headlights look good on it. And the headlights themselves haven't even been restored yet with the marker lights and all that, so we'll get there. Okay, I know I said I wasn't going to do it in my last video, but I couldn't resist. I went ahead and did it. I made my headlight mounts. Something about putting the headlights on a car kind of brings it alive, in my opinion. I did get the materials I need to do my upper shock mounts, so maybe that's next, or I said that was next last time and it wasn't. Maybe the pedals will be next. I don't know. I do want to say thank you to all of those that have commented on my videos and hit that like button. That really helps the channel. I really appreciate the subscribes. It doesn't cost anything, so if you haven't subscribed yet, would appreciate if you could throw a subscribe my way. Definitely probably one of the biggest things you can do to help the channel grow. I'm going to keep on putting out videos one way or the other, but for now, that's it. Next time, hopefully we'll be on these rear shocks and getting that done. So until then, YouTube, later.